Hey there, this is Keith with the Trombone Shop, back with another quick maintenance video, and today I want to talk about how we want to take care of our axial flow valves, in particular in bass trombone. You know, when we have any instrument with axial flow valves, we can use a similar procedure, but of course, double the valves, double the fun, maybe a little bit more complexity, right? So we're going to talk just a little bit about how we're going to go through and get these valves oiled up. So the two big oils we're going to need are going to be our rotor oil and our bearing and linkage oil. So the rotor oil is a thinner oil. This is what we're going to put inside the valve here, right? In the conical section here, sitting on top of our flat section here. And then on the outside, in our spindles and all of our linkage joints here, the little ball joints, we're going to use our bearing and linkage oil. A little bit thicker oil. It helps to sit on those surfaces, gives us a little bit more protection. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the F side here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off my F side tuning slide. Now, of course, when we do this, we want to hold the valve down. Right now, this is a closed loop. We start pulling it out, it's going to create a vacuum in here. If we do enough of that, there's always the potential of creating damage. We don't want that, so we're going to push the F side lever down, first valve lever down, and we're going to go through and we're just going to pull up the tuning slide, just like so here. And then I'm just going to carefully put that down here. And then I'm going to grab my rotor oil. And literally all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go 6 to 8 drops on both sides here, right? Now with rotor valves, we actually have to do a little bit more work with the way that the valves are ported in the rotor valves. A lot of times I kind of half valve. In other words, I push the valve down, the lever down part way so that the oil's landing on the surface more. But the really nice thing about the axial flow valve with this is right now, again, everything is a closed loop here. We have the surface of the valve is sitting right here, sitting down here. So all we need to do is just drop the oil in and it's going to be landing on the surfaces we want the oil to be on. So we're going to start here so you can kind of picture the oils kind of run down, landed on here, and then I'm just going to go through and work it through like that. And what that should be doing is spreading the oil all around the top of the valve. And then I'm going to do the conical surface. So for this, I always think of this as like one of those marble games where the oil is sitting down here right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to help guide it into the valve. So we started here, we're going to tilt it. Now you can picture the oil is sitting down here. And we're going to do that one more time. And the oil should now have landed inside the valve on the conical surface. And then, once again, I'm going to go through and I'm going to activate the valve. I'm going to move the lever, and that should be spreading the oil all around the inside of the valve here, okay? So, perfect. So, we've got that valve, and now, of course, it's the same exact procedure with the second valve, the G-flat valve. We're going to pull this off here, and now the only change is, of course, where the oil is landing. We drop the oil down here, it lands on the conical surface first. When we put the oil down here, then we go through, we turn the valve around, and now it's landing on the flat surface, but it's the exact same procedure. So we've oiled the insides of the valves. Now I'm just going to go through. I'm going to put my tuning slide back on here. By the way, quick little side note here, with a lot of these, if you ever get confused which side of the tuning slide goes where, take a look at the ferrules on the outside. In a lot of bass trombones, not all of them, but a lot of bass trombones, there's going to be a longer side and a shorter side. You just want to make sure that your tubes line up with that. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in. Same thing. We don't want to create pressure when we're putting the tuning slide in here. We don't want the air to build up and create pressure. So I'm going to hold the valve down and I'm going to put my tuning slide back in place here just like so. That's the inside of the valve. Now we're going to take care of the outside of the valve. That's where our bearing and linkage oil comes in, that thicker oil. So the first place I'm going to put the oil is on the spindle. So this little area right here, and we might have my camera person zoom in a little bit so they can see this. So we're going to get the oil right down on our little spindle here. And so what I do is I take our little needle applicator and I'm just going to put a little bit of oil right down there on the spindle and let that sit for a second. And we're going to rotate through. A lot of times when we're having performance issues with the axial flow valves, it's not the oil inside that's actually needed. Sometimes it's actually that spindle on the outside. So getting a little bit of oil in there can really help to improve that performance. So we've got the spindle oiled. Now I'm going to do the same thing on our little ball joints here, right? So wherever we have metal against metal, I want to have some lubrication. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil here on my ball joint there. I'm going to put a little bit of oil there on either side of my ball joint. And then I'll even do the same thing on either side of the trigger assembly here. Okay. Perfect. Now, again, you can imagine for the G flat side, second valve, it's going to be the exact same thing. In this case, tip my valve upside down, go through, take a little bit of my oil, and I drop it into the spindle gap there, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to activate that, and I'm going to get the oil sitting on the ball joints just the same. I'm going to oil the trigger assembly there in just the same manner. And one of the things I always recommend folks to keep in mind with the axial flow valves is they're going to need a little more regular maintenance, right? So I usually recommend once a week or so. Even, especially if it's new, if that starts to break in, you may need to do it even a little more than once a week. But just in general, if you're keeping everything oiled up once a week or so, it should be preventing excess wear and tear, keeping everything moving as best possible, extending the life of your valves, of your trombone, as far as we can. So thanks for much for watching. Check out some of our other videos on here, maintenance-wise and otherwise on the channel. Thanks for watching.